Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a challenge that, let's be honest, every single organization faces: how to help an employee come back to work after a long-term sickness. And as we'll see, it takes a lot more than just a policy. It really requires empathy, a solid plan, and a proactive mindset. So let's get right to the heart of it. How do we take what can be a really difficult period and turn it into a successful and, maybe more importantly, a sustainable return to work? Because the goal isn't just getting someone back in their chair, right? It's making sure they can actually thrive when they get there, for their own sake and for the health of the entire organization. To really nail the solution, we first have to understand the problem. Sickness absence doesn't just pop up out of the blue. So often, it's tied directly to the risks that are baked into the work environment itself. Some you can see and some you really can't. The International Labor Organization has this term ambient factors, and really, you can just think of these as the hidden stressors all around us at work. We're talking about that constant background noise, the vibration from tools, maybe working in extreme heat or cold. Over time, this stuff really adds up and can have a serious impact on someone's health. And of course, it's not just the invisible stuff. The health and safety executive points to these super common physical tasks. I mean, think about it: carrying heavy things over and over, or just trying to navigate a floor that's slippery or cluttered. These are huge risk factors that can lead straight to an injury and, you guessed it, time off work. So when all these risks pile up and an employee has to take time off, it can lead to what's officially defined as long-term sickness absence. And that's the key threshold: 4 or more weeks away from work. At this point, how an organization chooses to respond is absolutely critical. So what is the best way to respond? Well, it's probably not what you think. It's not some new form you have to fill out or a stricter attendance policy. According to official guidelines, the real solution starts with something way more fundamental. And there it is. This is the big one. This isn't just an HR issue to be managed. It's a leadership responsibility. The commitment to your employees' well-being has to be real, and it has to come straight from the very top of the organization. Because that commitment from the top, that's what creates a genuinely caring and supportive culture. It builds an environment where health is actually valued, where it's okay to talk about these things, and where people feel supported when they're not well. And that, right there, is the bedrock of any successful return-to-work strategy. But what does it actually look like day to day? Well, it means being proactive about health, not just reacting when someone gets sick. It means having procedures that are super clear and easy for everyone to understand. And this last one is so important. It means making a real effort to keep in touch so that an employee on leave never, ever feels isolated or forgotten. Okay, so once you have that supportive culture in place, we can get into the practical steps. This is the actual journey back to work, a process that's designed to be about the person, not just about the paperwork. Official guidance lays out this really clear 4-step path. And just look at the language here: conversation starter, discuss and agree. This isn't a rigid checklist of things to do. It's a roadmap for a collaborative plan that puts the employee and the recovery right at the center of the whole process. Now, we have to talk about the fit note because, honestly, this is a total game changer. It's not a sick note that just lists all the things an employee can't do. No, it's a capability assessment. And that small change flips the entire conversation from "you're too sick to be here" to "what support do you need so you can be here?" That is a huge, powerful difference. Okay, but this brings up a really common and critical question for any manager, right? What happens when the doctor's suggestions on that fit note, things like different hours or lighter duties, just aren't possible for the business to accommodate? The most important thing here is communication. If you just can't make the adjustments work, then the employee is still considered not fit for work, but you have to tell them why. Just leaving them hanging creates so much anxiety and mistrust. That supportive, open line of communication is more important than ever in that moment. So getting an employee back in the door is a huge step, but it's not the end of the journey. The final, and I'd argue most important piece of the puzzle, is making sure that their return to work is going to stick for the long haul. And this is a perfect illustration of why a one-size-fits-all plan just doesn't cut it. The guidance recommends support that's tailored to the person's situation. For a physical issue, maybe it's a phased return. For a mental health condition, maybe it's a structured 3-month support plan with regular check-ins. It's all about finding what works for that individual. When you get this right, you create this amazing win-win scenario. The employee feels valued and supported, which boosts their confidence and helps their recovery. And for the employer, you get reduced absenteeism, better productivity, and you build a stronger, more resilient culture for everyone. So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this fundamental shift in thinking. We need to move away from just reactively processing sick leave and move towards proactively supporting a person's entire journey back to health and back to work. And it's all built on that foundation of culture, communication, and genuine care. And that really leaves us with one last big question to think about. Is your organization's culture, are its policies and its day-to-day habits truly designed to support the well-being of its most valuable asset, its people?